What's going on, good people? Today's project will be doing some plumbing work. The customer stated that they had several fixtures, toilets, and whatnot that are leaking, and thus they need to be fixed to stop them from leaking. Depending on the leak or source of the leak, we'll either replace the fixture or replace the washer, seals, whatever the case may be, to get the leak stopped. Let's get started. The first thing that we have is the sink. I purchased a Moen faucet. The customer did look at this one that I showed them online and said, yes, I'm okay with that one. So went to the store and purchased it and brought it back. And we have all of the bathroom sinks with the same faucet. Thus, I'm going to show this process one time instead of 3 times because there were 3 sinks. The first thing I attempted to do was to remove the faucet, but after some maneuvering back and forth and realizing that this space, because this sink is at an angle, is a tight space to get that faucet out of there, I decided, okay, there's got to be a different way to do this. So I changed it up and decided, hey, just take the whole sink out and replace the faucet that way. So I took the sink out and cleaned off the edges there, and as you see, things were rather rusted on there, so I had to use the impact to get it off. This sink was probably original to the sink is original to the house, and the faucet probably is as well. House was built circa 1978, according to the customer. She actually said that they were the 3rd owners of the house. I attempted to reuse the hose connections there by removing the washers and was going to replace them, but after I realized the washers were probably not worth getting out of there, I decided, hey, I'll just get new hoses. So as you see, I am putting the new faucet on and also setting up the stopper on the bottom, and the faucet just attaches through the existing hose. Cleaning off the surface before putting the new sink on, and I had to go back to the truck to get some more tools. Also remove the existing, what looks like may have been putty on there. As you see, reconnected the stopper on the sink and tightened the sink up back to the cabinet. There are some screws underneath there there were 6 of them to be exact, that connect the sink back to the cabinet. And then later on, which I did not get on video, I sealed around the sink with some caulk, in addition to replacing the hoses with brand new stainless braided hoses to make sure that they do not leak in the future. The next part was to repair the toilets, not replace. The handles and the fill valve and the stoppers were all replaced. I purchased a toilet repair kit, and you get all of these parts in a single package. It took a bit of a moment to get the fill valve off, because not only is this the awkward positioning of this toilet with very little space between the toilet and the wall, you also have to get in there. And I attempted to try to loosen up some of the other areas, but I realized that was not working, so I was like, okay, try another plan. And eventually I was able to get that fill line off of the fill valve. Alright, so once I do all of that, I get the fill valve out. I had to drain the rest of the water out of the tank, and then was able to remove the tank, in addition to putting on the new handle for the toilet. And then also I put in the fill valve on the toilet. The other toilet, which was a little bit more complex, actually had to replace the gasket that goes on the bottom of the tank. Last but not least, tested the toilet to make sure that everything worked and flushed correct. The job has been completed. In total, there were 3 sinks and 2 toilets that needed to be repaired and or have parts replaced. The sinks, one of the sinks was actually rusted out, and part of the sink was rusted out. And so I advised the customer that they could check with the Habitat for Humanity store to see about finding a replacement cast iron sink until they, potentially do a renovation in the future or something of that nature. But as for right now, the sink that they have is there. It has a new faucet on it, but it's not connected. That way it's not used and potentially linking on the inside of the cabinet. The toilets, one of them had to put a new whole tank kit on it. The full tank kit, I did not show that in the time lapse, but the tank kit, you actually have to take off the tank as well as all of the internal components, and that tank was pretty close to almost falling off. I was actually able to get it down to the point where I took one bolt out of the bottom of the tank, and then the second bolt I just had to bang on it a couple of times, and then the whole tank came out with the bolt still in the seat portion or the bowl portion of the toilet. Per the customer, that toilet appears to have, the customer said that she had the toilet replaced at some point, and that she thinks the guy who did the replacement didn't actually get a brand new toilet, but instead he got a salvage toilet that was probably sitting in the warehouse, the company's warehouse or something of that nature, and put it in. And I kind of, after taking it apart and reassembling it, I told the customer, yeah, that probably was the case, because the front edge of the toilet had, or where the tank sits, had a lip on it, as if it was supposed to, something was supposed to slide over it to hold it in place. And so the front edge had a lip, and then the back end did not have a lip. It was just flat. And when I went to go put the gasket in there, I got the gasket in there after tightening it down, but it did not fit ideally how I've seen toilets fit. And so I told her, I was like, yeah, it does look like, it really looks like the bowl and the tank do not even go together, or never came as one piece, when it was purchased. And so, but obviously it's there now, and well, they have it. It's a rebuilt toilet and it's good to go. As far as the sinks, each of the sinks, the installation process for the sink were the same. I ended up removing the entire sink, given the tight space under the cabinet. It was easier just to remove the tank, and then, it was easier to remove the sink, then replace the faucet and plumbing on it, and then put the sink back in and reattach it accordingly, and then seal all the way around. The sink with the hole in it, of course I did it the same way, but I told the customer, you got to replace that one, because otherwise it's going to leak underneath. That wraps things up for this particular video. Questions or comments, please drop them down below. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and follow. And until next time, thank you for watching.